started this video over like 10 times, and every time I go to start it, I want to say I'm triggered. And it feels weird to say I'm triggered when we're talking about tech. I feel like maybe I'm being hyperbolic. But then I think about the fact that I came home from an event to teach me tech recently, and I called myself a failure. And I almost canceled the whole thing, including making a movie. So today we're gonna talk about tech and how it can be really hard for women to not feel like they have to be perfect with the technology before they move forward in some kind of creative pursuit. Hi, my name is Lauren Marie Fleming, and I'm an author, filmmaker, and story coach. I have an undergrad in film, and I'm returning to filmmaking after a 20-year detour in publishing and with this little side quest called getting a law degree. I'm a queer, fat, neurodiverse femme, and throughout my life, there's been so much gatekeeping that's held me back from my creative career. So my goal is to come here and share everything that I figure out with you, so you can go out there and tell your story. Now, I feel like I need to say that I'm not a tech expert. I don't really know much about tech. And you should go to somebody who knows what they're talking about. Because what would little old me know? And I find myself minimizing the actual experience I have of using technology all the time, every day, taking classes on it, going to workshops where I can get my hand on it and learn it from other people, going to conferences to learn it. I'm the person my family calls when there's a tech issue. But right now I'm working on my first short film, No Animals Harmed. Please check it out. We would love your support. And I'm finding myself having real physiological panic over the tech. How do I work a camera? What about lighting? What the heck is a gaffer or a grip? G&E, I just realized, is gear and equipment. Didn't know what that was. Recently, I went to an Alliance of Women's Directors event and talked all about how I found that group to be helping me in the logistics of actually what do you do as a director. And just this week, I went to an event at San Diego Film and Equipment with the Women in Cinema, and they broke down how the different tech worked. I came back from those events realizing that this was the first time I'd seen women actively teaching this stuff as experts. And I started thinking about the way that I just assumed my little creative brain could never figure this out. So I asked myself, where does this come from? And if you're saying misogyny, ding, 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 you're correct. And now listen, I understand that I use misogyny all the time when talking about what held me back. And I am the first person to say I held myself back. For sure. I think it's a part of oppression to convince you that it's your fault that you didn't make it through the overwhelming oppression. I looked back at film school and I wasn't even offered the cinematography classes. The directing class was encouraged for my guy friends and not for me. None of those boys knew anything about how to do any of the tech that they did. And yet I just assumed boys could figure it out, but I couldn't. What's that saying? If boys can do it, how hard can it be? I would go to those classes. I would go to the film festivals. I would go to the gear classes. I would go to the places and try to figure it out. And I would get talked down to oh, you're a cute little girly. Just go back to your little writing thing. I am somebody who does things imperfectly all the time. So why do I feel like it's not okay for my tech systems to be imperfect? I built an online school. I've had sales funnels. I've launched courses and programs. I've made multiple six figures. All of that required tech. All of it is online. Every part of my business is online. And yet, every time an email has a glitch, every time a system doesn't work exactly right, every time a funnel's off, I just think, I can't do this stuff. It's just not for me. In the same way that I've always been I'm just bad at math. When I think back to first grade, when I was actually really good at math, I was better than everybody else in the class at math until fourth grade, when I got made fun of for being good at math. And then I got into fifth grade, and I had a teacher who actively put me down for how smart I was. A male teacher, by the way. And I think about the statistics about how girls do better in school until fifth grade when puberty hits and suddenly they have to be beautiful, not smart. I'm someone who prides herself in her intelligence. I work my brain a lot. And yet when it comes to tech and when it comes to this kind of stuff, I think of myself as an idiot, even though I am so much more competent than most of the people in my life when it comes to this. In fact, I feel so incompetent in this that I didn't even ask them at this event to remind us, please, what's a gaffer? What's a grip? What does G&E mean? These terms they were throwing out, I was so insecure about how bad I am at tech that I wouldn't ask the questions I wanted to ask at this event, of women who were being super supportive of people and encouraging us to ask questions. I came up with all these reasons. I'm too old. I'm 43. I'm not that old. I'm too dumb. I'm actually a really smart person. I could figure it out. I'm just not that great at tech. I'm the person everybody calls when they need tech issues. And I just keep thinking about how much of that is misogyny. Why do I feel like I have to be perfect? Why do you feel like you have to be perfect? In what areas of our lives are we striving for perfection over competence? God, give me the confidence of a mediocre white man. I've seen them make millions. I've seen them make movies. I've seen them become president of our country. So why do I think that I have to have a perfect email sequence to run a business or understand everything having to do with lighting to make a movie? I hire a gaffer, which I now know is the chief lighting and electrician on a film set. And there you go, along with a grip, who works all the other equipment that's not lighting and electrical. 2 things I didn't realize while I took this course. 2 things that I left film school not knowing. Film school, gaffer and grip are 2 of the biggest things on a film set. And I left film school not knowing what those meant and being too ashamed to ask because I thought that I was dumb. And sure, at some point I probably looked it up. But the fact that it wasn't in here, that I didn't know it, when I can remember everything from the critique classes and the writing classes they encouraged us to take, the women's classes. I'm gonna mess it up. I'm gonna learn, just like the boys did. Hands on, figuring it out myself with a team of women and queers around me, supporting me and cheering me on. And a couple male allies. I'm so grateful that I built a creative career and a kind of life where I can say, hey, guess what? I don't know what I'm doing. I know a lot. I've been a storyteller and a visual storyteller for so many years, over 20. But I don't know how to run electrical equipment. I'm allowed to do it mediocre and scared and hard and before I feel ready. And friends, so are you. So if there is a tech thing that you're trying to learn, there's a term you don't know, if there's a trigger you have when it comes to something, know that you're not alone. Don't let that stop you from going out there and using your voice and making art and doing something creative today, because the world needs our stories. Now more than ever. If you resonated with this video, be sure to follow along on my Instagram, Substack, and YouTube, where I am showing the whole process of coming back to filmmaking after 20 years of being gone. I'm sharing everything I know about publishing as well, and I'm doing it all to help you get your stories out there.